Welcome to this episode of Her Rebirth. I'm Angela Peabody, your host. During this conversation, you will hear about the brave and audacious actions of a young man to save his family from the harmful practice of female genital mutilation or cutting. It is my pleasure to welcome Abdul Konomanyi to Her Rebirth. Welcome, Abdul.
Thank you, Angela.
So I'm anxious to get into this conversation. Please start by telling our listeners where you are originally from.
I'm originally from Sierra Leone in the eastern parts of the country, specifically Kono district, where I spent my early childhood. And my wife happens to also come from a neighboring town in the same region. So we do share a lot of the same cultural practices and understanding. Like my wife, my family later moved to the city, Freetown, because of the civil war we had then in Sierra Leone. And I spent the rest of my life in Freetown until my recent move to the US about 2 years ago.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that civil war because um, Liberia is right next door to Sierra Leone, and we practically lived the civil war as well in Sierra Leone. Um, so, what is your background? Tell us about yourself, about your background.
I hold a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering, and I also hold a master's degree in information technology. I spent the bulk of my 15 years or so career working in the public sector in Sierra Leone in various IT leadership roles. Um, since coming to the US, however, I've had to completely deviate from my career. I've been doing several part time jobs in caregiving or as a registered behavioral technician supporting autistic kids. I also do transportation services like Uber and Hop Skip Drive, which is a specialized transportation service catering for school going kids to take them to and from school. So that's it for now.
So you are well rounded. You do a lot of things, different things,
Oh, yeah.
especially working with children. That's really important. I know you mentioned about your background. In your background, you mentioned about working in IT and engineering in Sierra Leone. But tell us a little bit more about um, what you did in Sierra Leone before coming to the US. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I was the head of IT and chief technology officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation before coming here. Prior to that, I had held similar leadership positions in other government ministries, including the Ministry of Health and Sanitation, the Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Defense, and a couple of others.
So, how impressive. So, after doing all of those accomplished um, things in your career in Sierra Leone, what exactly did you, what caused you to leave your home country in Sierra Leone and come to the US? Tell us about that.
Uh, just a little bit of a background. My there was my wife went through FGM when she was about 15 years old, and about 4 years or so ago, she went through further persecution when there was an attempt by her mother and some others of the Bondo Society that initiated her into FGM. There was an attempt to initiate her into a leadership role called SOWI, which was her mother's role. So it was supposed to be passed on to her. So after that attempt to initiate my wife into that role, we realized that her life was in danger. The Sowe role in the Bondo society, like I said, is traditionally passed down from generation to generation within certain families. So they expected her to take over the role. And during that initiation process, she was told that her elder sister, who had passed away, did pass away as a result of refusing the same role, and that a similar fate would await her if she also refused. So we had to immediately get her to flee, and I was left behind, myself and the kids, because we didn't plan for this, but we had to make arrangements for her to immediately leave. And but even when she was in the US after fleeing, she was not keeping okay at all. She kept insisting that she had to return. It actually felt like something spiritual, like a spell was drawing her back. So I realized that she would eventually return if she continued to stay here alone. So I made a sudden decision to live with the kids and join her. I honestly had no idea what I was doing or how long I was going to be here. But once I came, it became clear that she would not be able to go through this on her own. So um, we had to choose between all of us staying here in the US or returning to Sierra Leone together. So we, of course, choose her safety, her life, and my daughter's life, and we ended up staying. So that's how I'm here.
So when you say all of us, you mean the entire family, your immediate family, which would be you, your wife, and your two children.
Exactly.
And you do have a daughter.
I do.
Now, just for the audience benefit, you mentioned the Bondo Society, and that is spelled BON, B like boy, OND like dog, O. Bondo Society, which is a secret society in Sierra Leone. I believe it also exists in Guinea, and
Mhm.
it's called Sunday Society in Liberia. And they
Mhm.
are the ones that actually perform FGM. They are proactive about the carrying on the practice of female genital mutilation, more commonly known as FGM. You mentioned that your wife's mother wanted her to take on the role that she was carrying. So that means was your wife's mother a cutter, as we call it in the world of FGM. Was
Exactly.
she actually cutting the girls?
I guess. Well, it's not clear that it's her decision or the rest of the society, but we learned that it has to be passed on to somebody within the family. And I don't know how they get to choose who, but it seems after trying to get my wife's sister to do it, when she refused and she ended up dying, that the next option they had was my wife.
This is very interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us, Abdul.
Well, you're
Um,
welcome. Mhm.
how did you meet your wife?
Oh, so whilst in Freetown, we happened to live close by. I used to see her on the way to work. When I was heading to work, she was waiting for a taxi. So I started giving her rides. It turned out we work also very close by. So we became friends, and sometime later we decided to build a family together. So, like you already mentioned, we are blessed with two kids, a boy and a girl, after about 8 years being in marriage.
So, and congratulations on that, on your marriage and the success of it. Uh, I'd like to know what impact, getting back to female genital mutilation, what impact did it have your life, on your life per se?
Mm.
Because you mentioned that you also from the same community or the same place as your wife, and if her
Mhm.
family practiced female genital mutilation or FGMC, did your family also practice it?
Well, of course, like almost like I said, we grew up in the same region. Growing up as a child, it was very clear. Almost every girl, if not every girl, had to go through the Bondo Society. And in fact, there was like the male counterparts in the town I came from. It's called Poro Society. That's the one for boys. Had it not been for the war, I myself would have gone through that. Like I have like 10 elder brothers, all of them went through the Poro Society. So growing up as kids back then, it's obvious at certain age for boys you have to go through the Poro Society, and for girls you have to go through the Bono Society. So I am very much familiar with that background, but specifically, FGM have personally impacted me in many ways, both difficult and eye-opening. On the difficult side, it's completely changed the course of my life. I had to abandon my job, my career, and everything I built in Sierra Leone to come to the US to support my wife and protect my daughter, or if I should say, to save them, because this is about life and death. So starting life all over again in a new country was not something I'd ever planned. But on the positive side, the journey has really opened my eyes. For years, I didn't fully understand the struggles my wife was going through, her emotional pain, the trauma, the silence. I just knew something was wrong, but she could not bring herself to talk about it. When she finally began opening up, and I should say thanks to the Global Women Peace Foundation for that, I realized how much she had been carrying alone. It really made me grateful for the patience I had showed. So FGM has made me more humble, teaching me not to judge anyone because you never know what someone has survived or what they're battling inside. It has also made me more compassionate, more understanding, and more committed to protecting my daughter and every other girl possible from ever experiencing this kind of painful and evil practice.
I'm
You-
familiar with the Poro Society as well because they call it that in Liberia, the male version of the
Mhm.
Bondo and Sunday
Mhm.
society. It's the Poro Society. Um, so I'm glad that you, even though your older brothers were not exempt from it, but I'm glad that you, due to the war, you didn't have to go through the Poro Society. When your wife escaped from Sierra Leone, how did the community react to that? Did they pressure you in any way about her whereabouts? Where did she go? Why did she leave? Or did you feel any pressure at all because she had left?
Oh yes, but it's not the kind of pressure where you have someone come to your door to knock or threaten you directly. It's much deeper than that. Because when a woman is initiated into the Bondo society, or likewise a man is initiated into the Poro society, it's like the oath you take is spiritually binding. So my wife's refusal to comply with the Bondo Society, or her speaking against it, is automatically inviting a curse. Growing up, like I said, in Kono, we used to know a few people that were said, a few mad people that it was very, everyone said they got mad because of stuff like this. Like somebody went into the Bondo bush where they do the initiation, and that's why he got mad and stuff like that. So the pressure isn't about someone confronting you, it's in the silence, it's in the fear and the belief in the spiritual consequences. After my wife escaped, I felt that with I knew she had gone against something very powerful in our culture. Even without anyone saying anything to me directly, I did feel pressured.
So, what do you think, knowing all of that and having said all of that, what exactly do you think would have happened to your wife had she not escaped from Sierra Leone? Um, do you think it would have been a fatal outcome? Because you mentioned earlier about what happened with her sister, her older sister. So, talk a little bit about that for our audience to really understand the urgency of your leaving, you and your wife leaving Sierra Leone.
So, of course, if I'm very certain if my wife had not escaped, the outcome could have been devastating. We saw firsthand what happened to her elder sister, who died a very mysterious death. I personally helped my wife transport her from hospital to hospital day after day, and no doctor could ever explain what was wrong with her. So that experience alone still shakes me, especially when we later realized, it was all tied to the consequence of resisting the expectations of the Bondo society. They actually told my wife that everything that happened to her sister was because of a curse by them. So I have to say that I very much believe that God saved my wife. It's not us. And we appreciate that because she's a very prayerful woman and she's a good person. So, because even after fleeing, she experienced signs that, we that signs similar to what her sister started experiencing: emotional distress, nightmares, the pressure to return back to Sierra Leone, the spiritual fear. She faced all of that. So, even though we escaped Sierra Leone, we are still grateful to God. We believe God saved her.
Absolutely. Abdul, some
Mhm.
people would consider you a model husband to a survivor of FGM, because I know from experience with dealing with survivors of FGM, some men abandon their wives due to the result of FGM. Some of them just walk away from it. They cannot deal with it. And the things that you just shared with us are so different from the Western world, and what you and your wife went through and what she's still going through psychologically as a result of FGM. But you have stuck by her. You made all those sacrifices to abandon your country, your home country, your successful career. It sounds like you were climbing the ladder or had climbed the professional ladder in Sierra Leone. You were really moving well, and you decided to sacrifice all of that, abandon all of that to come and be with your family, for you and your wife to be together with your children just for their safety. And I commend you for that. And I'm sure our audience commend you too. So why some men do, they just walk away from it. So tell me, why are you so different from those men that decide to walk away from their marriages? Um, tell us about that. Why would you stay, and why would you abandon your career?
Oh, well, thank you. I have to say that I am happy that I did stay, and I will never regret that, because I believe I saved my wife's life and I saved my daughter from going through this very evil practice. I really don't think there's anything special about me or about what I did. Because I believe when you build a family with someone, you stand with them in both the good moments and the difficult ones. That's what marriage is supposed to be. It's about supporting each other. So for me, being there for my wife through all of this, it's not anything extraordinary. It was simply the right thing to do. She needed support. Our kids needed stability. That's what any husband and father would want to provide. I just believe families should stick together, especially when things are tough.
Remarkable, remarkable. I know you're saying it's nothing special, but believe me, it is. It's really special, and I have a lot of respect and regard for your actions and what you did to save your family and to stick with your wife. What advice do you have for other husbands of FGM survivors?
Oh, it's my advice is simple. Be present, be patient, and be supportive. Your wife may be dealing with pain that started long before you ever met, emotional, physical, and even spiritual. Some of that pain she may not be able to explain, and you may not fully understand, even if she does. But your presence alone can make the difference. So stand by her, listen without judgment, give her the space to heal at her own pace. And always remember the best version of your wife, who she is in her happy moments, because those memories are what will keep you. So that's my advice.
Thank you for that. I hope other husbands are out there listening. Is there anything else you would like to share before we close?
Well, not really. Just I already gave my advice. So FGM is not a myth. It's real. It's real. It's still happening a lot in a lot of places, especially in Sierra Leone. So everyone should come together. We all need to come together to do our bits and end this evil practice everywhere in the world. That's my final. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul, so much for joining me today and for sharing your life story. It means a lot to us. We will have links associate resources and materials on our website. And for more information about how to support efforts to end FGMC. Did you enjoy this episode today? If so, then please do two things. Subscribe to Her Rebirth so you never miss another episode, and look forward to our episode number 2. Please share with all of your friends and family about Her Rebirth, our new podcast. Thank you for listening.